oil marketing company, members of the automotive fraternity, media who are present over here, and some technical experts also. The E20 journey that we have commenced way back in 2001 through a pilot study now has evolved to a stage in the last almost 2.5 decades and reached up to 20% blending. This journey has been a well-planned one where the government and the other stakeholders at multiple times have been interacting and seeing that necessary steps are taken to validate before launching the same. Starting from a meager 1.5–2% till a decade back, today reaching to E20 with BS6 is a unique proposition that this country has achieved, which globally there are people who blends higher, but not with a BS6 regime, and we are really proud to have that, and this has been acknowledged at multiple forums, even at UN meetings, for the way India has taken it forward. We as ARI, we do the testing and certification for most of the part and have been part of this journey. SIAM has been an integral part who always partner in this, and the oil marketing companies ensures that the right mix is always provided. So today we are over here to just interact with you, to clarify things, anything that has arisen, which are not in the public realm. Okay. But before that, let me tell you a few more things. Studies on 10% blending we had done in 2010. Multiple studies were done at that time. In 2016, there were studies on E20 done. At that time, the BS4 vehicles were there. So vehicles that were currently prevailing and that were almost around 7 to 8 years old. So you can imagine there were BS2 vehicles, BS3 vehicles of 2 and 3 wheelers. At that point of time, IIP, ARI and IOCL had done these studies. Come 2021, when this roadmap was discussed, again, there was a detailed studies carried out, and we have vehicles were selected which were almost like 7 to 8 years back, older vehicles, the current vehicles, and again detailed studies were because the BS regime had 6 regime had set in by that time. Subsequent to all this, and also with much other countries' interactions, means we know that Brazil is a good example before us, which has gone up to E27 blend, although the overall blending over there touches around 45%. We have a good example before us, as in the international realms also. So these journeys have been done in systematic and a very thorough manner. Other than that, there are multiple benefits for this blending for the country. So we will have a brief presentation, starting with Mr. Ravi, who is from FIPI, representing the oil companies. And we will then have some more discussions and then open it up for the press to address the queries that they are having. So over to you, Mr. Ravi.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar. I am P.S. Ravi, Director Downstream from Federation of Indian Petroleum Industry, and I am representing the oil marketing companies who are here with me. I am standing before you basically to present the incredible journey which we in India have had with respect to the ethanol blending program. As Dr. Mathai in his context setting very rightly pointed out that from 2001, practically more than 2 decades ago, where the thought was initiated to where we are today, I would like to take you through this incredible journey where every stakeholder has played a major role, and it has been a brilliant teaming effort by every single stakeholder, be it the Government of India, be it the oil companies, be it the automobile manufacturers, be it the testing, certification and R&D agencies, and last but not the least, including the farmer. To start, can we go to the first slide? Okay. Yeah. So, while the story started in 2001, I would like to present to you what this incredible journey has been in the last decade. So, if you look at 2014, the blending percentage which we had was just about 1.5%. And to put it more in terms of numbers, real numbers, it was only 38 crore liters of ethanol was actually procured and blended with petrol in 2014. From 2014 of 38 crore, we have now reached a situation where on date, I'm talking of this, on date, in this last 8-9 months, we have actually procured 750 crore liters. You can imagine in the last decade what kind of compounded growth we have achieved. It is likely that by the end of October, we normally measure it in terms of ethanol supply year, which is basically from November to the next year, October. So we are likely to end around 1100 to 1200 crore liters is what we are likely to end up procuring and blending. So from 38 crore to 1200 crore. So in terms of value, if I were to look at it, probably less than 1500 crore worth of ethanol procured then. Today, with 1200 crore, we would be procuring roughly 80 to 85,000 crore worth of ethanol this year. So you can imagine what kind of quantum jump which has happened. It did not happen just like that. A lot of effort went into it. Now, while the important stakeholders like Government of India, in terms of the automobile manufacturers, they have done a tremendous job. Here I would like to highlight a few points which the oil companies, as the fuel provider of the country, what have they done? First, the Government of India came out in 2000, okay, let me go back to 2014. Then we had only one feedstock from which ethanol could be made and we could procure. That we call it as the C-heavy molasses, which comes from the sugar industry. Then it got expanded, and then we had 3 feedstocks coming from the sugar industry. We call it as sugarcane juice, ethanol from sugarcane juice, B-heavy molasses and C-heavy molasses. So the quantity of ethanol from the sugar industry went up. Today, this year, the sugar industry is going to supply to us by the end of this year. I'm talking by end of October 25. The sugar industry would be supplying us close to 350 to 370 crore liters. No mean feat achieved. Then it was felt that if we have to achieve higher blend rates, that can be possible only if the ethanol blended petrol is available throughout the country consistently. The challenge which we were facing is, as I told you, we were initially dependent on sugar industry with only one feedstock. Then it got expanded to 3, but again dependent on sugar industry. And we all know the 3 major states which produce sugarcane and thereby the ethanol from sugar is basically UP, Maharashtra and Karnataka. whereas the ethanol blended petrol needs to be provided across the country, starting from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from the east, northeast to the westernmost corner. To make that happen, the oil industry signed long-term offtake agreements with entrepreneurs for establishing ethanol distillation capacities throughout the country. And it was predominantly grain-based. So that means we broad-based the feedstock. So now we have from grain, we have another 3 more feedstocks. We have the damaged food grain, and whenever there is additional quantity of rice, then we also get it from FCI. And majorly now the focus is on maize or corn. So the feedstocks got broad-based. Today, if I were to state, close to about 40% of the ethanol comes from maize, predominantly. And lot of support came in from Government of India. One, so if these distillation capacities were to come up, though we have signed the agreement, but they need to come up, how will they come up? First, the environmental clearance which needs to be obtained to set up the distillation capacities in the country. It used to be based on B1, that is, public hearing had to happen, and then we all know how much time it would take. So the dispensation came that it could be based on B2 form, wherein the need for, various other conditions which are required to obtain EC. So it was facilitated, it was made easy. All the other government actions of the government also ensured that quicker clearances were obtained and handed over to the distilleries so that they could commence their projects. Then the issue came, fine, offtake, that is the sale secured through the oil marketing companies, regulatory clearances obtained, but financing. So when it comes to financing, interest subvention scheme was introduced. Thereby, these new distillation capacities which come up, they are made that much more viable. To make them more viable, so this interest subvention came in. Third, the lending was also made easier, so the obtaining finances became easier. All these things has resulted in today where we are. From just about 38 crore liters in 2014, today we are in a position to procure close to 1,200 crore liters. All this happened because of these various actions which took place, facilitated by Government of India. Now, parallelly, the oil marketing companies also put in a lot of effort, because suddenly from handling only 38 crore liters of ethanol, if we have to handle 1,200 crore liters of ethanol, phenomenal, enormous amount of work went in. The entire logistics infrastructure was built up. Today the tankage, today the inventory which the oil companies can hold is more than 80 crore liters, okay, which is roughly about 21 days to 28 days requirement of the country. That much of ethanol they can hold. They facilitated easy procurement. They followed easy procurement policies and procedures. So procurement became easy. Next, even the payment for the ethanol procured was made very simpler and easier. Today, Anurag, in less than 21 days, we are making the payment. Within 21 days, the payment is being assured and it is being given. So quick, so that thereby it aids the working capital also for these distilleries. So these kind of changes have happened, which has made this journey incredible from 1.5% to 20% where we are today. Going forward, I mean, there are many questions which we have seen floating in the social media, etc. Going forward, whatever the percentage, whatever has to be done in the future will be purely based on stakeholder consultations. So it will. So at this moment, we are sticking to where we are. Next, what has been the result? What has been the result to the? What has been the benefits which has accrued? The farmer, way back in 2000, a decade back, we all must have heard of sugarcane arrears to the farmers. We also heard about drought impacting the lives of farmers, thereby leading to, in some parts of the country, even we had very unfortunate incidents like suicides, etc. From there, today, this ethanol blending program, first, it has converted our farmers to energy providers or urja datas. Sugarcane, so the arrears is completely eliminated. Now, we are broad basing or providing an opportunity to the farmers to grow alternate crops which are less water intensive. At the same time, what has happened in the case of maize is, we have given 72 rupees per liter for ethanol, which makes it that much more viable for the farmer to grow more and more of maize. So today, the maize cultivation has gone up in the country, and thereby the farmer is earning more and more income. In this year alone, so far close to 40,000 crore worth of money, which this ethanol blending program has facilitated in getting in transferring it to the farmers. So net, all I want to say is that the rural economy has been facilitated by this ethanol blended program. The other benefits which has accrued to the country, we all know, substantial equivalent amount of savings in terms of crude oil. That is, so the numbers are already there, about 245 lakh metric. So the crude oil substitution has happened. We would have bought that much more crude oil if we would not have gone in for ethanol. So that much amount of forex has been saved. And I mean, emissions, we all know that since ethanol is now plant-based material rather than fossil fuel-based, so the biogenic factor, thereby the CO2 reduction, so our emissions has been lowered. Foreign exchange, of course, I've talked about. So what has it resulted, or what is the advantage India has gained because of this activity? First, we all know what has happened in the last 3-4 years. There has been crude oil shocks when crude oil prices jumped up. To that extent, this ethanol blended program is going to help in insulating India from the crude oil shocks. Any disruption in supply also, to that extent, it is going to help. Sustainability, we all know, we are hearing we all read, we all know what is happening in the northern part of our country, cloud bursts, etc. We understand that there is an impact of emissions on the environment. So this ethanol blending program, ethanol itself being a low carbon intensity fuel, it is going to help in lowered emissions, thereby having a sustainable growth for the country. We have aspirations to achieve net zero, which has already been outlined. So it helps in achieving net zero aspirations, as well as ensuring that circular economy. Coming to the advantage in terms of on rupee basis, liquid fuel, this ethanol being liquid fuel, it uses the existing infrastructure. We don't need to create new infrastructure, be it from the oil industry side or the vehicle side. So it uses the existing technology, sorry, you're not. Okay. It uses the existing infrastructure. So it is one of the cost-effective pathway for us when we are moving towards energy transition. Of course, as Dr. Mathai had stated in his opening context setting, when he said India is probably the only country where you have BS6 E20 based fuel. So that provides India the global leadership position. So once again, I would like to come back in terms of numbers. So 1 lakh, close to 1,50,000 crore foreign exchange saved, and 1,25,000 paid to the farmers. 40,000 this year will be the money which will go to them. And the last, CO2 reductions, which I have already covered. But the important point I also want to convey here is that ethanol has got higher octane number, and I'm sure the auto majors will talk about it a little later. So, to sum it up, ethanol blending program has helped in reduced dependence on fossil fuel, which is the oil. Second, it has boosted local production. Now, what does this mean? We talked of farmer, agreed. We also talked of distillation capacities coming up. Here, I would like to add one point with respect to the distillation capacities. All the distilleries which have been set up, close to about 800 crore liters worth of distillation capacities have come up in the last 3 to 4 years. Roughly about 40,000 crore investment has happened in setting up of these distilleries. This entire 40,000 crore worth of equipment is entirely indigenous. There was never a need to go out of India to actually procure some equipment to put up these distilleries. So entirely it is in line with our national initiative, which is the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Very critical thing which I wanted to highlight over here. We are also looking at, while this ethanol which we have been procuring, generally in our parlance we call it as 1G ethanol, first generation ethanol. It is made of sugar cane or the food grains. India, as you know, has a big agriculture base. So there is a lot of agri residues also. So we are also looking at, there is a lot of efforts which is going on. Some pilot plants are being set up. Can we also make ethanol, which we call it a second generation, from these agri residues? So a lot of work is also happening there, so that we can further broad base the feedstocks. Now coming to what is the future. Currently, E20 has been achieved. We intend to, and when we look at any other success story in the world, Brazil is there, which is at 27%. They achieved this, but over a long period of time. In fact, they introduced way back from 2000 onwards, they have been working on that. So there is something for us to learn from them. That's a limited point. More than the percentage, there's something to learn from them. And last, what are we going to do in future? I have stated in the beginning itself that it will be based on thorough study. All stakeholders will be consulted, and appropriate call will be taken in later on. At the moment, we are doing E20. So ours has been a very planned approach towards moving or increasing the ethanol blending in the country. This is what I would like to highlight, and thank each and every one of you for giving a patient hearing. Thank you.
Yeah, there are just 2 more slides, I think, before opening up. Can you go back to that presentation? So just this is a summing up aspect. Basically, we are the first major Asian economy to attained E20 with BS6. It's really a proud moment because many of us participates in UN meetings and all where these discussions happen, and they really look up to India the way India has achieved it. How well it has been integrated, not only the available means energy security aspect, the farmers thing, even the climate action. It addresses multiple check boxes. And this is really enabling us to be a reference model globally. So as mentioned, it contributes to our net zero emissions plan by 2070 and also the circular economy part. And this is a scalable and a sustainable model, which we are really happy to see evolving and growing. And that's all from us. So in order to take us forward, I will request Mr. Sahi Seth to moderate, means just to see how the questions are taken up, and then the panel or the experts will be addressing it. Okay.
Right, sir. Thank you for setting the context, sir. We are open for Q&A session. Please raise your hands and mention your name and your publication's house name if you are asking any question. Thanks.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. This is Pankaj Deval from Times of India. I had a couple of questions and hopefully we get the answers for them. So in your assessment, how many vehicles which are on the road right now are first of all E20 compliant? Is there a percentage that you have that you've seen that these are E20 compliant vehicles and these are vehicles of an older generation, though they may also kind of run on this? Is there any estimate of that?
So if you say a tag to be applied, see, the thing is E20 terminology came somewhere in 2021, okay? Prior to that, there was nothing we could say that whether this will be E20 compliant or non-compliant. That's why I told about 2 studies done, one in 2016, where the vehicles 10 years prior to that were taken. So you can say from 2006-7 onwards, vehicles were selected. In 21, because BS6 regime had set in, again, almost 8 to 10 years old vehicles, so around from 15, 16 or 12 vehicles were selected. So you can see the span from 2005 to 21, these vehicles were tested, and these are market shareholding, which has a high market shareholding vehicles were selected, 2-wheelers and 4-wheelers. And in this selection process, in most cases, CM was a part of it. So they understand which vehicles to be selected and how to evaluate it. So if you say terminology wise in manuals and all, whether it is mentioned, that we can't say, because E20 was non-existent at that point of time.
So you have no estimates of how many vehicles are non-compliant?
So
as
it is,
per the definitions of whatever.
So what I will say is, in the testing, we have found them to be not to be having any adverse impact. So if you say that, okay, whether they are compliant or non-compliant, we can only say that there has been no adverse impact, and they have been accepting the E20 fuel. We have already seen 6 months, 7 months. 23 onwards also E20 was being blended at various places.
Yeah.
So this was continuing. So,
Mr. Mathai, and also to the industry, do you think that this is much ado about nothing? Because as per your own numbers, as per your own studies, there has been no impact. So do you think this is just a furor without any reason, and there's no, like as I'm saying, there's no much ado about nothing. There's no impact on the ground. There are no damages to engine. There is no drastic fall in fuel efficiency, and this is just a conspiracy or something. Do you think if your studies are showing nothing, then is it a conspiracy or something that you think that people are trying to derail our leadership in this green energy race that we are leading? Do you think there's something like that? Just a query, because
Mr. Vikram Gulati will be addressing part of, but let me just say one thing before I hand over the thing to him. Standardized studies, experimental validations are the way to forward. Hearsay will keep on happening. So we have to hold on to what we have proven and what we have established. Otherwise, we will never be able to go ahead. Yeah, Mr. Gulati, over to you.
So I think the key point is for all of us, rely upon these scientific studies that have been done by the experts in the domain. And as mentioned by Dr. Mathai, these studies show that there is no significant impact on legacy vehicles, E10 vehicles. And it also shows that whatever fuel consumption or mileage issue is there, it is marginal. So I think that is the key point that we have to reflect upon. Thank you.
And just one last question from my side. See, broadly, one is that we are securing our energy needs by doing this, and also farmers are benefiting. But the other issue is there has been a marginal decline in fuel efficiency. I think you guys also admit to that, and there could be variations in terms of how much you say and how much people are talking about. But there has been no perceptible change in the pricing, which was supposed to also happen, because the fuel efficiencies are going down. So the pricing of the fuel also needs to benefit people who are using that, one. And secondly, again, question to the auto industry, that will you honor the warranty if there is any damage to the engine of any particular, like as you said, there could be E10 compliant who's using E20 and all. If there is any damage to the engine, are the companies ready to give warranty to the users, and the dealerships will not send them back, no, you're using a fuel which is not E20 compliant? Because I was just talking to a colleague of mine whose car manual says E5 and E10, whatever. So if he's using E20 fuel and if his engine get damages, will Toyota give guarantee, or will Maruti or Hyundai or any other company for that matter, Bajaj, everybody sitting here, will you guys ensure that warranty will be honored for E20, and tomorrow if something happens to E27 and things like that, are you ready to give warranty, or do you say, no, that is something that we'll get back to you, we'll see? What is your response, please, from the fuel companies on the pricing and then on the warranty? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. What I would like to state over here is the procurement price of ethanol today is much more than the cost of petrol. The procurement price of ethanol is much more than the cost of petrol. Yet, the oil industry is still maintaining the same price which was there earlier, despite the price increases or the higher prices prevailing for ethanol from different grades. And we all know this ethanol prices are derived from the feedstock price. We all understand MSPs and FRPs, etc.
There is no perceptible benefit, that means. If you're paying more, it's better to import, then why would we pay more?
Let me just address the benefit. The benefit has to be seen for a wider perspective. First of all, you're doing, saving the forex. That has a direct impact on CAD, current account deficit. That has an impact on your economy. Second, the money that you would have sent to outside is now going to farmers. Farmers will be now economically better. They will be able to spend more. They contribute to the economy. Third, very important, we are all transiting to a sustainable mobility future, which is going to be net zero in times to come. This program is also helping to enable us to use huge invested amount of money in the existing ecosystem for internal combustion engines, the downstream ecosystem towards that, which includes MSMEs, the infrastructure that exists on the refining side, which includes huge investments that have gone into BS6, etc. All this, if you look at it from a perspective of auto sector today, our turnover is 20 trillion rupees. Contribution to GST is 15%. The employment given is 30 million. Now, all of that is being enabled to move to a sustainable direction in a very smooth manner. This money, which is coming from this ecosystem, is being invested back by OEMs in various other clean technologies, which includes battery electrics. So this is enabling the entire country to move towards sustainability in a very smooth manner, without disruption either to our economy, and best of all, creating a future which is truly self-reliant, not only from a point of view of energy, but also from a point of view of technology, raw materials. You don't need to import anything. You don't need to do anything. You are also actually getting huge economic benefit from the waste. Just a few years back, what you were mentioning, the sugarcane farmers were up in arms, not getting money. The sugar industry had to be subsidized for exporting sugar outside because it's so surplus. The food, surplus food grains were rotting because there was not enough storage. You know, all of that is a cost to the economy. All of that is a benefit to all of us as a society. So I think when we talk about benefits, let's not get bogged down by a limited issue of pricing. That, in any case, as pointed out, is a variable. Tomorrow, if crude goes to, let's say, 100, 120, this 20% blending is actually going to help us. And, therefore, we have to look at it from a wider perspective. Over to PKB San for the other question.
I think, Pankaj, I think very important question you have raised, and many people have different understanding in absence of the very clear messaging. And the very purpose of today's press meet is to clarify any misgiving, many misunderstanding on the subject. So on the question of warranty, categorically we would like to state on behalf of OEMs, on behalf of all stakeholders here, there will not be any warranty related changes. Whatever warranty is being committed by the OEM will be honored fully for E20 usage in the vehicle. This is the first part. And therefore, you have to understand very clearly that warranty has its own periods depending upon the application, usage, the vehicle category. So, we would like to state very clearly that for E20 usage in the vehicle, warranty will not be impacted, insurance will not be impacted in any manner.
Just want to add on the labeling part, when owner's manual is given on the sale of a vehicle, it's in a context of the existing fuel specification. So if, let's say, there's an owner's manual which says E10, which was probably somebody bought a vehicle into, let's say, 2022 or 2021, it doesn't mean that you can't use E20. That's the whole point. And that is validated by the study that's been done by ARAI. And their study has been across a very wide variety of vehicles, both two-wheelers and four-wheelers, very scientifically chosen to represent a very wide spectrum to cover not only the legacy but also the different types. And that study clearly shows that we don't need to be too much worried on the impact.
Sir, this is Aditi from Reuters. This study that you're talking about, which has happened in 2016, I think you said in 2021, which has been quoted very widely as the pillar on which all of this rests in terms of impact. Where is this study? I mean, where can customers find it? Where can we find it? Because you're putting cars of customers and you're saying you've tested these BS2, BS4 cars. As a customer, it is, I think, a fundamental right for me to understand that, my car is compliant and that there is a body that's conducted a study. Where can we find, the findings of this study? Where is this report? And maybe we can afford, give more clarity to consumers through the media if you give us a copy of this report.
So the 16 report, 21 reports are being submitted to the concerned authorities. So
who would be these authorities?
Let me just complete, first of all. Second thing, if today you get a thing saying that the mileage is 17.11 kilometers per liter, certified by ARI, you never ask for a report. Nobody asks. You hardly get 16 maybe on the field. Maybe you're getting 15 on the field because of various usage. We get n number of letters. So there are methods that are outlined on evaluating a particular processes or particular things. If we start getting, there are standards, detailed procedures, all that are listed. Based on that, the evaluations are carried out. So you never ask how you get 17.11. Nobody has asked till now to us. But, no, please. Please.
So let's get into that as well.
No. These are very detailed discussions, and I don't think this is on this forum we can start discussing on, okay, this was how the evaluation. But when we do that, it is transparently done with the OEMs who understand their engines and their vehicles. The best people to understand it. It is not that ARI does something, makes a report, gives to the ministry and done.
No, sir, I'm sure I'm sure the OEMs were involved, which is why the OEMs also put stickers on their cars which says that this is the mileage that you will get, right? And we trust the OEMs. So if you're saying that, this is how the mileage is calculated, right now, when you're saying that there is a report, I'm not saying we should, start discussing a how many ever page report over here, but given that it's in public interest to 50 million vehicles on in Indian roads, even more. Is there a way where people can access it, in terms of a public website? And also to the OEMs, since you publish, mileage and stuff, I just wanted to understand that this ARAI study, which is done, along with the OEMs, is there a study that every OEM has done independently of your cars? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be a Maruti customer or a Toyota customer that's going to come to you with complaints about the car, if there are any. But from that point of view, I see that, everyone relies. Statements that have come out from OEMs also quote the ARAI study. Have you done any studies of your own, and how do you plan to bring transparency to your own consumers? Are there, is there an email you're going to send out? Because there's a lot of confusion on communication at the moment. There's one email that goes out, it gets retracted. There's a second email that comes out. So there is a lot of confusion, which is why there is a lot of debate which is going on. So one is, what about this study, given its public interest, which ARAI has done? Secondly, just want to know if OEMs have done any study of their own, and how do you plan to communicate this to your own consumers? To each their own. Will you be sending out emails? Will you be assuring them of, and will you be telling them transparently that this is what can or cannot happen with your car? That's it.
And on the ground, what I was asking about warranty, actually dealers do not honor that, and many times they don't know who to contact. You may say that I will honor this, but like in social media, there's a grievance officer which is listed on the website to whom one can write. Because, often we've seen that customers do not know what to do about it. If the dealer refuses, he doesn't know who you are or who the particular gentleman of a company is. There is no clear-cut area by which they can go to and talk about it, because otherwise there's no redressal.
I think, first of all, Aditi, thank you very much for bringing this out very clearly. Three things I would like to highlight, and whatever I say has the backup, okay? So first thing is, everybody must understand that E20 is safe enough for usage in any vintage of the vehicle which is plying on Indian road, is the summary outcome of the study, and that is the reason the decision has been taken. Now the second question is the mileage compromised? On that also there is a clear statement that because of the lower calorific value of the fuel, depending upon the vintage of the vehicle, depending upon the driving habits of the individual, depending upon the terrain it is operating, it is in a higher altitude, in sea areas, or in a congested zone, in a very difficult traffic, it will have a different experiences for the different customers. So therefore, this is also is issue. Now the question which is being raised, that for the public clarity, for the clarity of everybody being on the same page, very valid point, and that part needs to be very clearly articulated. And therefore, there is a decision that after our interaction, there will be a summary statements articulating, highlighting the concerns. It could be in the form of a press release, easy to understand communication, or it could be FAQs that we can decide. It will be available in the web page of maybe each company, maybe each association, maybe FIPI, maybe ARI, so that that part of your question, which is of course everybody's mind, every vehicle owner, every citizen would like to have, we would like to provide you for. And as regards the detailing of the studies, I think from time to time different part of this study he has been sharing in different form, but yes, the point you have raised very well. Authorities would be hearing this.
I think, if I recall, recently Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas has come out with a detailed press release that has, I think, the crux of the story, the crux of the study being revealed in terms of when they talk about certain percentage of fuel, mileage, when they talk about the impact on the vehicles. It's clearly there. I saw it a few days back. But on a very valid point, Pankaj, that you raised, most of the OEMs, in fact all, have already or are in the process of communicating to the dealers so that this confusion does not persist. I don't want to talk about Toyota per se, but many companies like us have already reached out to dealers. We've already informed them that if there is any confusion, the clear stance is that E20 fuel can be used in E10 vehicles without any concern.
So just the question on, whether car makers have, whether you've conducted individual studies, just wanted to understand if any car maker has.
So the process is that when you, as all of you are aware, that when you sell a car, you go to the testing agencies as per law to get them tested for homologation and certification, and that is the basis upon which you sell a vehicle. Now, when it comes to old legacy vehicles, the decision in 2021 was that this would be done by a neutral testing agency, which is an expert agency, and which is like not my word, not his word. So it would be also covering a certain spectrum of vehicle of different vintages, of different makes, of different types, so that as a holistically industry-wide impact can be assessed. In these things, it's not about OEM A, B, C, D, E. When you see an impact, you have to see everybody. And therefore, the point really is, the importance is that in 2021, when we these discussions were happening in NITI, I believe, there was a conscious call that, we have to take a neutral study conducted by the leading agency, which is expert in this area, and involve all stakeholders who have a role to play. The entire industry participated by giving their vehicles, and therefore that is it's like sampling. You don't have to do 100% check on everything. You take a scientific-based sampling of the entire ecosystem and then see is there any impact. I think that is what is to be appreciated.
So just want to clarify, because, sorry, just one second. Wanted to clarify, you said that you will communicate to dealers that, what the process is going to be and that E20 can be used in E10. But can we have clarity on whether warranties of vehicles will be honored? And is that what you're going to tell dealers as well? If the manual says that you are supposed to use only E5 or E10, and you are still using E20, and if there is an issue, will the warranty still be honored?
So I'll just repeat two things which have already been said. One, if there is a vehicle that was sold earlier, the owner's manual will naturally have instructions which are context to that time frame, referring to fuel specifications of that era on that time.
Sure.
That does not mean that you can't use E20. Very clearly we spelled out. And I think
but so
from
does that
behalf
mean
of the
that
industry,
the warranty will not be, or
No,
will you
I'm
send
just-
an updated email to those customers?
No email to customers. I'm just saying, just hear me out, please. And therefore, just now, before I spoke, I think from the industry perspective, Mr. Banerjee has already discussed the issue on the warranty.
Saying that warranties will be honored, irrespective of what the manual says. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
And is there any, so you're basically saying no, and the ARAI study will not be made public, not even the vehicles that you
Who said
tested?
that?
No, I'm asking you because nobody's answered that question actually,
No.
sir, so I'm a bit confused.
No,
At the moment, just like all our customers are confused.
Aditi
So,
ji, I just
so yes
said,
or no question hai na,
No,
sir?
yes or no में कभी वो नहीं होता ना. You can't. इसमें I just mentioned that the core part, if you just see the PIB release.
So, but you said you've taken a cross section of vehicles. I think it'll be in everyone's benefit to know what kind of vehicles were taken, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, just please bear me out. Just a while back, I guess I did read a PIB release which categorically addressed these issues of mileage and impact on vehicles, reflecting on the study. So that study, in a way, has the government is already relying not only for its decisions but also in terms of sharing.
Sure, sir.
No,
but
but
just
sir, the
again, just a question,
question
will
is
that
that-
study be made public or not, sir? Just a
Since
very
everyone
specific
is referring
question.
to the same study,
Yeah.
why is it such a top secret document, and why should customers rely on just the words of a few people? I mean, as many of you are experts in regulatory affairs, I mean, words don't carry any value.
Let others, experts also take their view, no, sir?
Yes, about, yeah, what were the contours of the studies, what were the vehicles, how the study was carried out. If it's a scientific document, it should be put out in public domain where others can also weigh in on the scientific merits of this study. And the second related question is, while the government is saying that, and the industry is saying, SIAM has said that only 5 to 6% impact is there on mileage. Users are saying that there is a much higher impact of up to 20%. Will you also look into why people are reporting that sort of a high impact on mileage? Will there be an examination, a detailed examination, or will you just keep refuting and saying that no, but it's just 5 to 6%? So both on why this is under tight wraps. Where is it? You're saying higher authorities. Is it MORTH? Is it Petroleum Ministry? Is it PMO? Is it Niti Aayog? Yeah.
So, on the report part, I think it has been told already. These main conclusions have been told. If you want the spectrum of vehicles which were taken, this has been with consultation with SIAM, means almost, I can say 80 to 90% of the market representations are normally addressed in such studies. Major players, vehicles of different vintages, different emission regimes are taken into considerations. Why it is not being made public, or is it a public document to be consumed? Because there are data in it which are very specific to OEMs. We have to really look into it, how much of that can be made public. We'll have to have a look into that. Still now we have not looked into that aspect. So maybe in due consultation we will see what is to be done, because there are very OEM specific data in that. They know how much is the mileage happening, what is happening this vehicle, what is the kilometer wise. And these are not data which rarely we publish us. Please understand.
So, sir, in the back,
but when we are telling that this clearly brought out certain conclusions which the government is owning up through their publication, we understand that it is not going to have an adverse impact on any of the vehicles. That was the basic underlying statement by which the study was conducted.
Sir, because there is vacuum of information, there are so many
So we have to,
speculations.
so
and
we
fears.
will see selectively what can be done as the requirement is after due consultation. Let us see. As mentioned.
So
we
what
can-
about users reporting a higher drop in
So
mileage?
let me come to that. Users reporting that if there are specific cases, we can surely address it, because I can confidently say that it cannot happen if the vehicle is properly maintained and is being done with. If you go from one place to other on 5 days, you will get 5 different fuel economy. That's why these tests are conducted in a very controlled atmosphere, on a roller, on a chassis dynamometer, on a very systematic way, on a very ambient controlled way, with only the fuel as the variant. Then only we calculate it. It is not that today I went, yesterday I went, and after 5 days I went, so that my engine is deteriorating. It is not that way. We have done almost 1 lakh kilometers of accumulation, and the fuel economy studies related to it. So we understand when we say on what is happening.
Can I just add one point to what you raised? Please also keep in mind, it has not been 0 to 20 or 10 to 20. In the last few years, it is 10, 12, then 15, then 19, then 20. And 20 in many parts of the country has been much before, also before 1st of April 2023. So that has to be kept in mind when somebody suddenly starts to feel 1st of April 2023, post and pre is dramatically different.
Sir, I have a
Sir,
question,
there was
sir.
a-
Sir, my question is to Mr. Mathai and Mr. Ravi. You said that, when you were planning this EBP, you had stakeholder consultations. I just wanted to understand how much of the consumers were involved in the whole process, because at the end of the day today, it's the consumers who are at the receiving end, because they are getting low mileage and they are also having to fuel more. So, and when you are talking about in future also, you will do all these stakeholder consultations. So are there any chances of the consumers being heard about what they are going to be facing as we move from the E20 to E27 stuff? Because today we are sitting here because the consumers have started raising their voice against it, right?
You mentioned from?
No, what I'm saying is, in this whole process,
Okay.
how much of you said like it was on the basis of stakeholder consultations. In your stakeholders, how much of the consumers were involved, if at all? And going forward, are they going to be involved?
You would like to answer?
Okay, just to answer, first of all, let's go by the data. Till date, all the OEMs are sitting here, and millions of vehicles are running and flying on E20 for quite some time now. Not a single vehicle breakdown has been reported. Let me make it absolutely clear. Not a single vehicle breakdown, engine failure have been reported from the marketplace, while E20 Pan India being used by all segments, all category, all strata of society for quite some time, in older vehicle as well. So this data point you must have before you. And second data point which Director ARA is talking about, the study in a very controlled environment, not 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, but more than 1 lakh kilometer. So this is first part. The second part of involving users, the very purpose of this press meet is to perhaps understand, appreciate the user voice. As we said that multiple social media platforms, different vehicle category, different vehicle OEMs, different service engineers, different dealers related questions from Pan India have been coming on the social media platform, posts which are having a different misunderstanding or misinformation based understanding. So to clarify that, this press meet is being organized, and I hope that post today's meet, when you carry and cover the right perspective, right information which is being shared with you. I completely agree with Aditi's point of view and of course sentiments that whatever report has been generated, because of the involvement of the individual company specific product test data, when we sign such an agreement, we do the NDA agreement. So whether those can be somewhere managed and then authorities can agree to share what part of the study for the purpose of consumption of building confidence, we'll take it forward after this meet.
So while we clear out all of this, what is the possibility of providing multiple fuels like we do in countries like Brazil, where there is an option of an E10 and an E20? Because that was a suggestion that SIAM also gave a few years back, where they had recommended that till the end of life of vehicles, E10 should be made available. So just want to understand the possibility of E10 being made available now, and what is SIAM's position, which is essentially the car industry's position, and which was there a few years ago, and if it's changed now, why has it changed?
This ethanol blending program, which I had articulated earlier, has been over a period of more than 2 decades. And consciously, we have moved from different percentages level, starting from E0, E5, E, then E10, and 12, 15, and now we have reached E20. We could achieve this. I mean, why did we go about in this phased program? That also I have articulated, because the availability of ethanol was restricted earlier. Now, since we have very clear visibility across the country that we can provide E20 fuel as a uniform fuel for the country, for the benefit of the country. We have already talked about, Mr. Gulati rightly talked about the various benefits which are accruing to India as a whole. Every section of the society is also getting benefit out of it, and hence and the tests, the rigor of tests and the tests conducted by the certification body has proved that it is not going to have any major impact. And considering all these aspects and availability of ethanol, we have now reached a situation of only providing E20 across the country.
Sharmishta from ET. Sir, I wanted to understand, like we are talking about CAFE 3 norms and tightening emissions and lessening fuel consumption, then why are we looking at higher blends of fuel which is less dense in calorific value? How will we align it with the CAFE norms going ahead in future?
There are multiple things when we look at CAFE. Okay, it is basically, as you mentioned, we look into emission of CO2 per kilometer sort of a thing. That is a definition grams of CO2 per kilometer. That is how it is defined. Now, what constitutes that is also important, because in the end, our direction towards net zero is very clear, circular economy is very clear. So looking into all that, how the substitution has to be done, how it has to be accounted is being discussed. Now, only the quantification of CO2 alone is not the challenge over there. I will add.
So CAFE, that's an important point. So what exactly is CAFE? I mean, if you break it down to very basic brass tacks, it's the whole regulation started with trying to reduce the fossil fuel consumption, right? And if you look at ethanol molecule, it's a green molecule, it's a carbon neutral molecule. This is not me saying it. This is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change saying it. And it's carbon neutral, the molecule, because it's plants which absorb carbon and take sun energy, and which then gets converted in due process and is used in the vehicles, and then that carbon gets emitted, which again is absorbed. So it is carbon from above the ground, and therefore in countries where ethanol is being used as a direction towards sustainable mobility, it is already being recognized as zero carbon fuel. Towards that, if you look at the basic principles and the objectives of CAFE, the original one being, of course, reduce the consumption of fossil fuel. You're already doing it. 20% means 20% of fossil fuel in terms of petrol knocked off. But if you're looking at it from a carbon perspective also, even given the lower energy content, which has an impact, but given this complete displacement, there is a very big positive. In fact, a scientific study has recently been done. I believe it was with the oil MOPNG through IOCL. There's a scientific way of ascertaining how much of, when you run a vehicle, when you test it, how much of it is actually biogenic, that is carbon neutral. So E20 corresponds to 14.3. And as an industry, we already have a unanimous view that this biogenic factor should be provided for ethanol in the upcoming CAFE, not only for E20, but also for flex fuel vehicles, which might come up later, which would be required to offset the huge, vast potential that we have for additional ethanol that can come in. Remember, right now we're just talking about 1G. Second G basically can come for things like parali, which is otherwise burnt, and we all choke as people who are based out of Delhi during the winters. So given all of these aspects, the promise of potential in terms of ethanol going forward is huge, and the industry as one voice has already pointed out to the government, as I mentioned, with regard to CAFE.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, for past few days, these issues have been coming up. Suddenly on a Saturday afternoon, you are holding a press conference just 2 days before Supreme Court takes it up. And also second part, if you see, there have been some allegations from some politicians. After that, everything is happening. So there is something seems to be little bit fishy, number one. Number two, you talked about, you are referring to our government data. You look at own Niti Aayog, where I think they are also writing on the basis of ARI information, which clearly says E0, that means 100% petrol vehicle, if they run on E20, then the mileage will be 6 to 7 kilometer less. So are you refuting that Niti Aayog report is wrong? Please tell us.
No, it is 6 to 7%, not 6 to 7 kilometers.
Yes, sir, I said, sorry, my mistake. But
so-
that also makes difference.
No,
I think you get salary from government, so you don't understand. People who buys from, pays from his pocket, they will understand it.
So paying from the pocket, I think Mr. Ravi has mentioned how the pricing is done. Okay. So let us understand and let us respect that. The study told around 2 to 6%. It was not 6 to. ठीक है अगर वो E0 से कंपेयर कर रहा है ये E10 से होगा. So E0 has not been done because E10 was the prevailing fuel. Okay, so that is one thing that we have to understand, that from E10 we have done the study and E10 was the prevailing fuel as of now. And regarding all this they have mentioned, we have to understand that even there is an increase in this, the CO2 emissions almost remains the same because of the inherent quality of ethanol having oxygen very much built into that. So these things will continue to evolve as we are doing more and more CAFE studies and all that. And I won't comment on what you told on the first part because that is beyond my purview.
Sir,
It is there. Let it be there. The PIL is to be handled separately. So that is.
सर मेरा दो सवाल हैं आपसे.
Ladies
Hello?
and gentlemen,
Yeah, we
may I
have
seek
last
your
two
attention, please? In the interest of time, we can take up only one more question. So please
Let
raise
me
your
also
hand.
add-
सवाल है
Yes.
आपसे. मेन चीज ये कि एक आपने कहा कि ऐसा कोई रिपोर्ट नहीं हुआ है.
Can I
Yes.
can I just complete the previous one? So which you had asked, Madam, you had asked that. What I want to say is we had all multiple fuel options till about 2 years, till very recently as December 24. Now, over a period of time, during this time, and as I stated earlier, enough tests were conducted by the certification bodies. We also, as oil companies, we also assessed whether we are in a position to have uniform grade, single grade, that is E20 fuel across the country. Till that time, we had multiple fuel options. Once the studies have very clearly revealed that there is not going to be a significant impact, and that is how, having understood the availability, we moved to E20 as a single grade fuel only since the last 6 to 8 months.
hello,
सर,
sir.
सर मेरे दो सवाल हैं आपसे. एक बहुत
I have to
important
ask.
चीज़ एक
Wait,
है.
wait. Let us, people who have not asked, let them ask one.
Yes,
or two.
please. Please allow me.
Just wait. Just
Please
wait.
allow me.
Just
Sir,
wait.
allow
You'll
me
get.
to-
It's unfair. It's unfair. It's unfair. Just one question. As they have told already कि only एक क्वेश्चन लेना है तो प्लीज मुझे ही पूछ लेने दीजिए. आप ऑलरेडी बहुत सारे ले चुके हैं. मैं भी आप ही के पॉइंट उठाऊंगा. निश्चिंत रहे. प्लीज अलाउ कीजिए. पेट्रोलियम डिपार्टमेंट से मेरा सवाल रहा वो ये कि आप लोग ऑलरेडी यूरोप में E0 फ्यूल सप्लाई कर रहे हैं. इंडिया में सप्लाई करने में एक्चुअली दिक्कत क्या है? क्योंकि इतनी देर की कॉन्फ्रेंस में मैंने यही नोटिस किया है कि आप E20 के बेनिफिट्स पोर्ट्रे कर रहे हैं लगातार लंबे समय के साथ. जो भी स्टडीज के बारे में आपने बात की है वो सारी स्टडीज E10 कंप्लायंस व्हीकल के ऊपर E20 फ्यूल के साथ की गई है, जबकि हम सब जानते हैं कि हर कार का एक टॉलरेंस लेवल होता है जो E10 का टॉलरेंस लेवल E20 के साथ है. मगर बहुत से व्हीकल ऐसे हैं जो E5 या E0 के लिए रेडी किए गए थे. क्या प्रॉब्लम है उन पेट्रोलियम कंपनीज को जो यूरोप में सप्लाई कर रही हैं फ्यूल, इंडिया में एक डिस्पेंसिंग यूनिट नहीं दे सकते? हम डेमोक्रेसी में रहते हैं, हमारे पास राइट है अपनी पसंद का टूथपेस्ट, अपने पसंद के शूज, अपने पसंद के क्लॉथ पहनने का. अपनी पसंद का पेट्रोल क्यों नहीं हम यूज कर सकते? हम अपनी पसंद का पेट्रोल क्यों नहीं बाय कर सकते? अभी अभी आपने एक चीज क्लियरिटी से कही है कि एथेनॉल एक्सपेंसिव है. तो मैं ये समझता हूं अगर एथेनॉल एक्सपेंसिव है तो इंडियन कंज्यूमर के बेनिफिट के लिए क्या आप E0 या E5 अगले 5 साल तक सप्लाई क्यों नहीं दे सकते? इसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है? ताकि जिनको अपनी पसंद का फ्यूल खरीदना हो उनके लिए क्या दिक्कतें हैं? मेरा सवाल केवल इतना सा है. मेरा नाम है अमित, मैं आस्क कार्गोस हूं. बहुत सारे मैंने केस स्टडीज किए हैं, मैकेनिक्स के पास जाकर किए हैं. सर्विस सेंटर का डेटा जरूर कम OEM के पास होगा, लेकिन रोड साइड मैकेनिक जहां पर एक्चुअल कस्टमर जाता है आफ्टर 10 ईयर कंप्लीट होने के बाद व्हीकल की रिपेयरिंग के लिए, वहां का जो डाटा है अगर मैं शेयर करना शुरू कर दूंगा तो रियली बहुत हॉरिफाइंग स्टोरी निकल के आएंगी. तो मेरा प्लीज ये रिक्वेस्ट है अगले 5 साल तक अगर E10 फ्यूल सप्लाई करने में दिक्कतें क्या है, क्या आप उस पर रोशनी डालेंगे? थैंक यू. सर मेरा सवाल नहीं है, जस्ट एक सजेशन है, एक रिक्वेस्ट है. ये सारी कंफ्यूजन सिर्फ इसलिए है क्योंकि आप जितने भी टर्म यूज करते हैं आप कहते हैं कि नो एडवर्स इंपैक्ट, नो सिग्निफिकेंट इंपैक्ट. तो ये सारे वेग टर्म्स हैं, क्लैरिटी नहीं है इसमें. यदि आप क्लैरिटी के साथ, एग्जैक्ट नंबर्स के साथ कुछ समरी अपनी वेबसाइट पर सब लोग डाल दें, हर कार कंपनी डाल दें, ठीक है, पूरी स्टडी आप रिवील मत कीजिए, क्या आप समरी डालने की कोशिश करेंगे कि ताकि सब लोग उसे पढ़ सकें?
इनफैक्ट एक क्लैरिफिकेशन की, द ओनली थिंग दैट यू मेंशन्ड अबाउट पब्लिक परसेप्शन और पब्लिक फीडबैक इज misunderstanding, misinformation and hearsay. These are 3 words that I have noted. Is there something else that you want to say about public feedback, that you will look into it, you will also do some inquiry, or will you only stick to hearsay, misunderstanding and misinformation? Will you do a public some inquiry, investigation again to look into public concerns?
So as and when specifics are coming, we are always looking into it. But अभी जैसे आपने नेट में किसी ने डाल दिया मेरा 20 किलोमीटर का ड्रॉप या 20% का लॉस हो गया. If you put it up, we can always have we always have a look into that.
Will you do an investigation again?
Yeah, we can have a look into that, and we can always say that because such a thing is not possible with the current setup. Second thing, as you rightly mentioned, yes, we will have a look into it. What were the studies? Why I say is non-significant and all. When a vehicle runs say 100,000 kilometers, there are going to be deterioration happening in it. Please understand. देयर आर कंप्लेन कहां करना है करके तो आप YouTube में डालने से पहले इतने सारे OEM से किसी को भी एक मेल कर दीजिए. इन्फो
सर यू वॉन्ट बिलीव सर मैं इसी पे ऐड कर दूं.
हाँ.
ये पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम मेरे साथ खुद जो है, मेरे पास BS4 ब्रेजा है, ठीक है. मैं यूज कर रहा था इस गाड़ी को. जब मैंने ये ऑयल यूज किया, जब मैंने सर्विस कराया तो उसका इंजन ऑयल जब बाहर निकलता है तो उसकी जो इक्विटी है वो बहुत हार्ड होती थी. पहली प्रॉब्लम. दूसरा सवाल मेरा यह था, आपने आपके पीछे टैगलाइन है कि अन्नदाता से ऊर्जा दाता. आप कोई ऐसा डाटा है कि आपने अभी तक किसानों को कितना फायदा एथेनॉल शुरू होने से अब तक मिला है या कितना आगे हो सकता है?
वो डेटा तो द डेटा इज अवेलेबल. आई मीन वी हैवंट ब्रॉट इट, वी विल शेयर इट विथ यू.
जो बता देंगे सर, ऑन रिकॉर्ड आ जाएगा.
हाँ, ऑलरेडी फूड मिनिस्ट्री.
नहीं, देखिए, जब इथेनॉल पेट्रोलियम कंपनीज खरीदती हैं तो करीब करीब 60% का जो पे आउट डिस्टिलर को होता है, क्योंकि एमएसपी की प्राइसिंग है, वो एमएसपी ड्रिवन प्राइसिंग है और एमएसपी का फायदा किसान के पास जाता है. तो करीब करीब 7% उसमें है. अब आप कैलकुलेट करेंगे तो उतने ही नंबर आने वाला है. तो वो नंबर्स एब्सोल्यूट नंबर के बीच में है, बट एवरी लीटर विच इज परचेज्ड गिव्स द बेनिफिट टू द फार्मर.
दूसरा सर आपने
और प्रेजेंटेशन में भी हमने शेयर किया था कि
40,000
करोड़ रुपीज वर्थ ऑफ बेनिफिट हैज बीन अक्रूड टू दी फार्मर्स.
सर दूसरा मैं ऐड कर दूं इसमें कि
फॉर ये साल के लिए मैं बोल रहा हूं, अगर हम पूरा प्रोग्राम का देखेंगे 1.25 लाख करोड़ का बेनिफिट फार्मर्स को मिला है एथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग प्रोग्राम के वजह से.
सर दूसरा आप लोगों ने कहा कि इसमें अभी तक कोई रिपोर्ट नहीं हुआ है ऐसा कि गाड़ियों में प्रॉब्लम आई है या इस तरीके की चीजें हुई हैं. बट BS3, BS4
E10 E0 तो था ही नहीं कभी भी. E10 हाँ E10
या एग्जैक्टली
100% पेट्रोल हमने कब से बंद कर दिया है. हाँ, मल्टीपल
जब बाहर दे रहे हैं तो सर अपने कंट्री के लोगों को क्यों नहीं?
एथेनॉल की कीमत ज्यादा हो गई है तो एक्चुअल ओरिजिनल फ्यूल जब आप देंगे तो उसकी कीमत तो और कम होगी. हम इंडियंस के लिए बेनिफिशियल है वो. तो आप E10 अगर सप्लाई करते हैं तो वो इकोनॉमिकली सस्ता भी होगा और हमारे लिए भी बेहतर है कि हम अपनी कारों को लेकर परेशान तो नहीं होंगे कम से कम.
थोड़ी देर के पहले मिस्टर गुलाटी ने बहुत बढ़िया एक्सप्लेन किया था कि जैसे जैसे ब्लेंडिंग परसेंटेज बढ़ी है तो क्या बेनिफिट हुआ. जस्ट हम लोग अभी सिर्फ, कैन आई कंप्लीट सर, हम सिर्फ एक मुद्दे पे हम देख रहे हैं कि प्राइस, बट जो बेनिफिट्स, ओवरऑल बेनिफिट्स ये एथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग प्रोग्राम के वजह से हुई है. एथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग प्रोग्राम्स, सिग्निफिकेंट रिडक्शन इन एमिशंस. अल्टीमेटली बेनिफिट किसको पहुंचता है? द एंटायर कंट्री को पहुंचता है. सेकेंड,
बेनिफिट्स आप बहुत देर से कोऑपरेट कर चुके हैं सर. मैं सप्लाई करने के पॉइंट की बात करूं, क्या इसे सप्लाई करने में एक्चुअली दिक्कत क्या है?
तो ये जो बेनिफिट्स अभी मिल रही है, रिड्यूस्ड एमिशंस, इंक्रीज अर्निंग्स टू फार्मर्स, ओके, यूजिंग द एग्जिस्टिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, द मोमेंट वी स्टार्ट गोइंग बैक, these impact are going to only reduce.
Not asking to go back. Just supply E10 also with E20, no issue. I don't know how.
So with E20 we have actually benefited the environment in India substantially.
सर आपने कहा था कि कोई रिपोर्ट नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन BS3 और BS4 गाड़ियों में सबसे ज्यादा रिपोर्ट हुआ. ये गवर्नमेंट का डाटा है और दोनों में अभी सर ने किसी ने
And sir, let's say that we trust whatever you are saying in terms of emissions, सब कुछ ठीक हो गया है and it's all going fine. This is Monish from Motor Trends. But then what happens to the vehicles which were never tested, like BS2 and BS3, the two-wheelers and the four-wheelers that were never tested? What happens to those? Can there be a tie-up with possibly the aftermarket to look into problems? Let's say that the problem would not happen, but in the eventuality that it happens, can there be some sort of a tie-up that can be looked at with the aftermarket?
I think here we have 80% of our vehicles are two-wheelers. We have Bajaj and TVS, so maybe Mr. Pagare can answer that. And also Raman San is here from Maruti, so he can.
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. So I think whatever the vehicles which are there, so first thing I think already discussed this, that we have not migrated all of a sudden to E20. All our vehicles, whatever are there, are actually tuned for various ethanol blends what are being used in the vehicles. So accordingly, one exercise definitely was done was the E10 fuel, E10 vehicle, whatever was there, was filled in with E20, and accordingly we have seen that all the performance or the fuel efficiency, the startability, everything is absolutely fine. Of course, the calorific value, whatever is there, with respect to that, the mileage, whatever is there, has been reduced. But one thing I think you have to see that whatever the BS2, BS3 vehicles, whatever were there, those vehicles were basically tuned for the BS2 emission levels. And whatever the BS6 and all those emissions are there, those are very stringent emission levels in fact. So whatever those vehicles are there, because the stringency was less, those vehicles are the one where this fuel, whatever is there, actually should be, it's supposed to actually work. But of course, what is the influence of that in terms of the percentage, all that, we need to really quantify, because these are the vehicles which are actually are available in a very old era, you know. So, and all said and done, you know, we can, one thing for sure, that performance wise should not be any problem. But mileage data, whatever is there, has to be actually checked in a very, very controlled manner. And the fuel efficiency is the one which depends upon the driving habit, then again the kind of road conditions which are there. So I think these are the factors, and that is why fuel efficiency is always checked in terms of the controlled environment.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Anand, you want to add something?
Sir, can you hear me? Here. This is Mukul from...
Just to add up to what Mr. Milind had shared, BS2, basically it started 2005 onwards, which is almost 20 years before. I think the vintage of vehicles what we chose are from BS3 onwards, which naturally has been tested in the joint study what Director ARE has referred. And the impact's also been assessed, it's not that impactful, and that has been recorded also, the mileage numbers or other numbers. Drivability per se or acceleration per se, there's no impact happened. BS2 being a very old vintage vehicle, we have not touched it, just 20 years old minimum.
I think one thing I want to add, that whatever the BS2, BS3 vehicles are there, please remember that when the vehicles are run over the kilometers, the age of the vehicle is also the one which causes the wear and tear of the parts. So be it say E20 fuel or E10 fuel, for that fuel itself, if the maintenance of the vehicle has not been correctly and wear and tear is more, so I think these are some of the factors will be affecting the performance of that compared to the new vehicle whichever is there. So I think this is one of the parameters we need to understand. It is actually a fact that now in spite of all that also the older vehicles whatever are there, we are able to run with the higher grade of fuels and even in today's times.
Hi, sir, this is Mukul from Economic Times. Can you hear me? So I just wanted to understand a very basic thing. The tests which were done in 2010, 14, 16 and 21. I assume these were done on BS3 and BS4 vehicles as well.
BS2, BS3,
Right,
BS2,
so-
BS3, prevailing times, yes.
Sir, if these all cars were already complying with the fuel, then I wanted to understand in 2023 what was the need of tagging, production of mandatory E20 vehicle starts if these were already compliant. Number two, if these vehicles are already can already use this fuel, which is E20, which causes less pollution in terms of other fuels, why are governments like Delhi banning these vehicles if this fuel is already available in the market? Why can't these BS4 vehicles simply switch to this fuel and enter Delhi and other states?
No. See, when you say compliant means it is compliant to that term. When you say BS2, it is tested against BS2. Ethanol, if you add ethanol, it does not become BS6 emissions. Please understand. So it is a polluting vehicle meeting the BS2 regime. Now studies at 2010, 2016 and 2023 were done on the regimes at that point of time. Okay, so we can't say that vehicles older to that 10 years older. So around 2004, 5 and 2015 or 2012, 13 vehicles. At each stages, around 8 to 10 years older vehicles are taken into consideration when studies are done. So it is not that the same vehicles were done, and in 2010 it was for E10 the studies were done. It was not for E20 because at that point of time E10 was supposed to be introduced. So at different times different things are being done. Methodologies are different because the severity increases, the emission measurements differ. So all these things are taken into consideration when studies are planned.
Sir, Ronendra from Hindu Business Line newspaper. Just a basic question and a layman question. The question of average hasn't come sudden, all of a sudden, right? It is coming and people are posting on social network, social media because it has just changed their fuel efficiency in this last few months or so. And as a layman, I wanted to understand, like, how would, I mean, I'm ending up spending, like, if I'm filling like 50 liters a month, now I'm, at least spending another 15 liters of petrol in my budget and every month. So how does it make sense to become a net zero or, or oil import becoming lower, under 400 billion, lesser than 400 billion in the next few years, I mean 2030. So is it so like, because you're spending more fuel now from earlier, right? From pre E20. So how does it make sense? Is it the public that they'll always end up paying higher taxes on fuel and spending more on the road on the vehicles? So how does it make a sense to become a?
So one time please, one time please. Yeah, we will take your question, sir, please, one time.
ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन को मैं पहले एड्रेस कर लेता हूं क्योंकि ये आई ट्राई टू एड्रेस दिस इन कैफे क्वेश्चन एज वेल कि E20 में राइटली सेड कि जब 20% मिक्स हुआ तो थ्योरेटिकली 20% पेट्रोल निकल गया, राइट? सो वन कैन से कि बिकॉज इथेनॉल इज कार्बन न्यूट्रल, जीरो कार्बन, नॉट 40%, जीरो कार्बन. नो this is how the intergovernmental panel on climate change identifies ethanol, right? You have to see कि कार्बन कितना ऐड कर रहा है एनवायरमेंट में. Since it is absorbing carbon at the initial stage, it is recognized internationally as zero carbon. That is a scientific fact. Now, अब E20 पे बात आ जाए, 20% हुआ तो you would say कि 20% कार्बन बच गया, right? But then you're right, there is some carbon, the energy density is also less, some has to be discounted, correct? Now, when you do this activity scientifically, what comes out is net reduction of carbon by 14.3%. And for this particular aspect, I would request, we have the benefit of chair of the ENC group in CM to just add a few words on this. He will just add, he's the chair of the ENC in CM. वो हो गया ना, वो efficiency कर दिया. Over to you. After you.
I think Mr. Gulati has already explained this. We are talking about CO2 which is captured, and we are talking about E20. roughly about 14% is, the biogenic content. And it has been, seen very clearly in our testing that this is a virtuous cycle. It's from a circularity perspective. Obviously, because of the lower calorific value, the question which is being asked is that what could be the possible impact? And I think that what we have to understand is that what is the issue? What is the elephant in the room? Elephant in the room is that there is a, there could be a fuel efficiency impact which is being felt, which is inherent because of the E20 fuel. Okay. And from E10 to E20, because, till about 2 years back or till now recently, E10 was also there and E20 was also there. So there could be an impact of about 2 to 4%, which has been the testing which has happened. And obviously on road, could be very different because of the way in which the vehicles are maintained and the way in which it is driven. And so that difference would be there. But we as auto industry, as oil industry, as test agencies, we are very, very confident that whatever testing which has been done gives us this confidence that customers can fill in the E20 fuel. Not just, of course, there could be an impact of about 2 to 4% on the fuel efficiency, but as far as the running is concerned, question is there a problem? Is there a catastrophic issue? Are vehicles stranded on the road? I don't think so. We as Maruti Suzuki, we have one of the largest networks. We have the largest car park, okay, for the past 15 years. So we have not seen any issue which has come to our service center that there is a catastrophic issue or something which has happened. Why are we all sitting here? We are wanting to give a confidence to the customer that, there is no issue and they can easily fill the E20 fuel in the existing vehicles. And supporting that is the network of our service centers which are available. If at any point of time we would like to assure that there is a problem with any customer, they can approach our service center and we will take care of those issues if there are. But till now I can assure you that we have not received any such complaint.
Thank you, everyone. The remaining questions can be dropped to us. Please.
I had asked a question earlier which you, I think, missed answering. There were lots of questions that Siam had a stance a few years ago that E10 should be made available till end of life vehicles. Do you still maintain that? If the stand has changed, can you tell us why?
Yes, I think at point in time when we requested, it was easy to implement, easy to accept, without any scientific evidence of how the vehicle may be behaving with E20 fuel. But as you know that with the evidence of the testing done by ARAI, which is a national body, along with the oil marketing company R&D, along with OEMs, the result indicated that perhaps this protection fuel demand, which has been the demand earlier, is not required. That is also something to do with oil marketing companies, distribution networking, retailing networking, and you know that it's a federal structure, the country. Central ministry decides something and each states have to take the implementation forward. So knowing that you are an expert, you are aware that how the distribution related challenges, how the taxation related challenges, how the political willingness and acceptance related challenges are there in terms of every policy implementation. So to me, this decision of India going forward E20 pan India without having need to give E10 protection grade, wherein we are fully assured because all the OEMs are present here, we have the evidence, and again I am maintaining, till date not a single vehicle breakdown, engine failure has been reported in any of the locations pan India from any of the vehicle category, from any of the manufacturer. So therefore we are gaining more and more confidence that perhaps for India to march forward towards higher blends of adoption of ethanol, the route which Government of India has consciously taken a call on is going well. sporadically what we see here and there, reported, posts, and also the millions of channel partners who are having a not very clear understanding. So they are communicating something based on the past, maybe writing in some owner's manual, maybe somebody is suggesting something. But today, press meet, we have categorically clarified that 20% a blend of E20 by the intrinsic nature of the calorific value of the ethanol, which is 30 to 35% lower. 6% is the only energy going less, but knowing the better fuel combustion characteristics, better octane numbers of the ethanol, better, possibility of here sitting experts might have, provided the solutions in terms of how the engine has to be driven in a particular pattern of first gear, second gear driving habits. There are so many factors which can lead to that this maximum 6%, which I am saying physics, it can be mitigated to what Raman San indicated in our different tests. Director AR is also here. The range we found was 2 to 4% depending upon whatever vehicles we have tested. But if customers are saying 50% fuel consumption penalty, 20%, it's all misplaced, misinformation campaign. Please be clear. By physics also, if you put 6% less energy and do anything to your vehicle, it cannot deteriorate the fuel consumption. In normal case, if your vehicle is behaving normally, sensibly. So that's what we are trying to assure through this press meet, that the mileage related challenges, there is admittance clearly that intrinsic nature of the fuel is this, so therefore there is marginal drop, but it accrues the huge benefit to the nation, to the society, to the farmer, to the environment, to the exchequer, all of us. So therefore, I believe that through the very important communicator you are for the general masses, please help us to communicate this message that one, E20 fuel is absolutely safe for vehicles. Second, E20 fuel related insurance, warranty, any claim with whosoever is spreading is misplaced. There will be honoring of the warranty without any ifs and buts. The third, related to failures, if any, as Raman San indicated, if anybody is reporting anywhere, there will be complete taking care in a service routine maintenance by our channel partners and service engineers. So I will hand over Director Regime Mathai sir to conclude and give a concluding remarks.
Sir, an answer to my question. We are looking for getting more fuel every month. How are you going to reduce the oil import?
No. See, already 20% substitution has been done. So we are already reducing that.
But I'm ending up buying more fuel. Because mileage has
Oh, that is 4 to 6%. 4% hardly. So you 20% you are substituted and only 4% you are losing.
4% or 20%, which is 2%.
Huh? देखिए, these are statistics from Government of India on the, owned by the government. They've been shared with great deal of responsibility. So let's give credence to this. The forex saving has been informed. 20% of if you mix ethanol, 20% of petrol is knocked off. Yes, if there is a fuel efficiency loss of 2 to 6%, it is 2 to 4% on 20%. 20% का 1% कितना हुआ?
Sir, I will.
2% कितना हुआ? उससे कम करोगे तो फिर भी
सीधा सा सवाल है कि मैं अगर महंगा तेल खरीद रहा हूँ और मेरी जो है माइलेज भी डाउन हो रही है, ज्यादा भी डलवा रहा हूँ, माइलेज भी डाउन हो रही है, उसके बाद मेरे इंजन पे कुछ असर पड़ रहा है, तो उससे फायदा क्या हुआ? सीधा से कॉमन मैन का सवाल है।
देखिए,
यहाँ पे गाड़ी खरीदते वक्त माइलेज देखते सबसे पहले
I think इसका सब जवाब दिया जा चुका है. I think again and again we are repeating the same thing. We are repeating the same thing again and again.
एक second. So as much as we have here out, just one line from the oil marketing companies. Last year we sold about 5,100 crore liter within the 3 PSUs I am saying. And this year we are selling 5,300 and vehicle growth has also happened. So if we assume that E20 has been available, the growth should have been much higher. it should have been at least 20% high growth or 30% high growth, but that is not true. Going to the chemical facts for it, and for simple maths, if ethanol has 65% calorific value, which means for every point you reduce 35%, 20% will reduce it by 7%. Now what ethanol does is that it can be used for substantially increasing the engine performance, and all the major OEMs are working on that to cut down this loss. This is a chemical loss which nobody can prevent, but to cut down this loss there are enough technologies, higher compression ratio. The point is, should we go to those things or not? Or should we go back to E10 or E5 and then we have to breathe our air also?
मेरा सवाल ये है सर रमन सर से आपको मेरा सवाल मारुति की गाड़ी सिंपल
No, I think right now it's very clear as per the roadmap of ethanol published by Honorable Prime Minister's hands in 2021 July. E20 pan-India stabilization is happening. There is no discussion as in I think MOP NGPIB note also it's clear, no discussion on the next higher blends. So let's not get into
रमन सर एक सवाल है जो आप मारुति से है अगर मैनुअल ड्राइव करते हैं और एक ऑटो क्रूज कंट्रोल कार ड्राइव करते हैं दोनों ज्यादा बेस्ट इंजन के लिए कौन सा है पहला सवाल मेरा ये इसका क्लैरिफिकेशन आप देंगे तो नेक्स्ट सवाल उस पर
I think such personal questions you can take up with Mr. Raman sir. Say please, no, sir, you can't.
पीछे ये है कि अगर आप क्रूज कंट्रोल मैं हाईवे पे जा रहा हूँ 500 किलोमीटर का मेरा हाईवे है मैं क्रूज कंट्रोल पे जा रहा हूँ 100 से कम की स्पीड मैंने फिक्स की है उसके बावजूद भी मुझे अगर माइलेज डाउन हो रही है उसके बाद मुझे प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है उसके तो मैं कैसे उसको आगे
देखिए ऐसा है, माइलेज की चीजें हमने बार बार डिस्कस किया. इट इज विद इन 2 to 6% होगा, आपको कम होगा. आने वाले व्हीकल्स में हो सकता है कम हो बिकॉज द ट्यूनिंग्स एंड ऑल दैट इज टेकिंग प्लेस. लेट अस नॉट गेट इनटू दैट. व्हाट इज द पास्ट इज दिस, बट द बेनिफिट्स हैव बीन वेरी वेल concluded by Mr. Banerjee, and I think with these remarks, thank you all for joining us. Any personal questions you can take up with the individuals if there are some things like that, but it has been really a remarkable journey for the country, and we really look forward for your support in this matter. Thank you.